Quarter past here in Moscow, David Cameron has been probed by MPs for the first time since Britain's referendum on EU membership. During the session, the Prime Minister ruled out the possibility of a second vote on staying in the Union.
Well, I think people won't be surprised to hear that I'm not planning a second referendum. I think we have to accept the results, we have to get on and deliver it, and as we do so, we have to seek the best possible deal, and obviously this House should be involved in that process.
Uncertainty and confusion have swept Europe after the referendum results were announced. RT's Peter Oliver now looks at what might come next.
Well, few would deny that the result of the British EU referendum came as something of a shock. However, here in Europe, people are starting to wonder, what exactly comes next? Well, the UK could change its mind. Ultimately, 3.5 million people have already signed a petition to call for a second referendum. However, the likelihood of that seems very, very distant. Another option would be that the UK government could ignore the results of this referendum. It wasn't legally binding, but yet again, almost no chance of that happening. And a third chance could be if the Queen herself was to veto it. Her Majesty is the head of the government and could dissolve Parliament at any time. But in all fairness, this isn't the 1640s, and Big Liz probably isn't going to want to try and trigger a British civil war. We're hearing from some in France that they want to strip English as one of the official languages of the EU, which I'm sure both the Republic of Ireland and Malta would have something to say about, as both have English as an official language. And also that we heard from Jean-Claude Juncker, the EU Commission President, who assured Britain that out meant out. But it looks like Britain will be leaving the EU, and that could potentially split the European Union into old Europe and new. With on one side the power brokers being France, Italy and here in Germany, and on the other Poland, the Czech Republic, Hungary and Slovakia. Another option would be that France and Germany just take over as the dominant economies in the EU. Then there's another option: chaos, and the EU tears itself apart. Already in Austria, we're seeing the far right call for their own referendum. In Slovakia, the anti-immigration party saying their people should be given a vote. And in Denmark, they're saying that they should have a decision on whether their relationship with the EU should be as close as it currently is. All of this fallout from Brexit.
As you can see in the video, before voicing Germany's position on Britain leaving the EU, German Chancellor Angela Merkel had some pretty intense talks with Wolfgang Schäuble, Germany's finance minister. Meanwhile, Scotland is insisting it wants to stay in the bloc. A leading Scottish National Party politician has stated in Parliament that it has no intention of being dragged out of the EU.
Mr. Speaker, let me tell this House and our friends across Europe, we have no intention whatsoever of seeing Scotland taken out of Europe. That would be totally democratically unacceptable. We are a European country and we will stay a European country. And if that means we have to have an independence referendum to protect Scotland's place, then so be it.
Former Scottish First Minister Alex Salmond discussed the country's future with RT's Sophie Shepard-Naté and Sophie Coe. You can watch the full interview online.
Of course, we argued, and successfully as far as Scotland's concerned, because the only decisive vote in this whole affair was a decisive vote in favour of Europe from Scotland. We argued that it was best that Scotland and England and Northern Ireland, who also voted for Remain, incidentally, and Wales stay within the European Union. But, you know, the English people have spoken, and they've spoken by a majority of some 6%. That they want out of Europe. But the Scottish people have also spoken by a majority of 24%, and the Scottish people want to stay in Europe. So we now have a circumstance where the First Minister of Scotland, as the only leader who's still in position, unchallenged, and is working out her plan, is opening these direct negotiations with Europe. Now, that's not taking advantage, because that's just accepting the democratic wishes of the people of England, but also being instructed by the democratic wishes of the people of Scotland.
Yeah, still to come here after a short break. RT talks to a 10-year-old Palestinian girl who has stirred controversy for her reporting on the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict.